This TFMR podcast is brought to you by your friends at JM Bullion. Visit jmbullion.com for all your gold and silver bullion needs. Hello again from TF Metals Report, and welcome to your weekly podcast highlights program. Get a daily podcast, just part of what you receive as a member of TF Metals Report. It's just $15 a month, pretty economical. And through the month of September, we're running a special for everybody. If you want to check us out, sign up for a new monthly membership, enter the coupon code GOLD at checkout, and your first month will cost you a whopping $5, $5. So this is the time to join. There's a lot going on, no doubt about that. And the TF Metals Report can help you sift through it all and stack physical precious metal at the most economical prices possible. This week began on Monday. We knew it was going to be a very busy week, with the FOMC meeting concluding on Wednesday. As the week began, we were looking at a number of charts in our daily podcast, but one of them is the KRE, big ETF of U.S. regional banking shares. As you can see, it's been headed lower and not back to the distress levels of April and May yet, but it's certainly rolling over. We wrote about it this week for Sprott Money. If you go to sprottmoney.com, you can find our public article that we wrote this week kind of warning everybody to keep an eye on this chart. But this chart and the stock market in general was something we discussed on Monday the 18th. So, okay, that gets us then to the KRE. We started talking about this last week. And how was it breaking down? Had it put in a top on its little dead cat bounce from May to August? Well, maybe. It's a pretty gnarly candle. Now, it may just be coming down to fill that gap in the chart from back there in July, the last time it was at this level. The last time it closed anywhere near 42.51 where it closed today was that green candle, and then it gapped higher the next day in early July, July the 11th. So maybe it's just coming down to fill the gap. Maybe not. So we will continue to watch this. This is, this big regional bank ETF, the KRE. If you follow the precious metals at all, then you know we got to watch the dollar index almost every day. A rising dollar index can act as a headwind for the metals, and a falling dollar index can act as a tailwind. Well, the dollar index has been rising now for 10 weeks, going all the way back to about July the 18th. So we're waiting for that to roll over. So we look at the chart every day, hoping that we'll find a topping pattern that would lead to some lower values and some buying in the precious metals. On Tuesday, some trend lines to watch as we go through the remainder of the week. First, of course, the dollar index. Again, we've been following the upper trend line of this. You see that? That's the one we were following back in, 2-3 weeks, almost 4 weeks ago, connecting all those initial points, July 27th, August the 10th, August 22nd, the 24th, right? Then it broke down, then it got back above, kept going back above, and then tried to get in, as you can see now, failing. That's the line. That's the actual trend line. And this looks to me like the dollar is starting to finally die out. Now, again, we're 2 days into the week. We're down a little bit on the week. Maybe we'll finally break the 9-week winning streak in the dollar. We'll see. A long ways to go. Ask me about that tomorrow. We'll see where we stand tomorrow at this time. But again, off that original trend line, it's starting to roll over. And as you can see, if you drew another trend line, though, off of those lows at the end of last month, that's about 104.50. So that's the level you want to watch. I think it's starting to roll over, but I will really think it's rolling over if, in the reaction, tomorrow and Thursday, the dollar closes down below 104.50. Then it's going to look like, okay, that this long, grueling 8-9 weeks is finally coming to an end. Wednesday brought the conclusion of the September FOMC meeting, the Fed lines, and Chairman Jerry Powell's press conference. There was nothing that came out of that was good for the precious metals, but as you can see on this chart, it didn't help out the stock market much at all either. Stock market falling sharply and starting to look like it's beginning to roll over. If it does, well, that might put a little pressure on the Fed to pause and pivot a little earlier than people are expecting right now. So we got to watch the stock market, see where it goes. And on Wednesday, September the 20th, it didn't look so hot. And finally to the S&P, which we continue to watch, right? Hovering around its 50-day, rolling over and smashing down again pretty hard back on Friday, and now going out at its lows today. The key level will be this, this low back in the middle of August. See that candle? It's around 43.50, green candle that day. If we were to come down tomorrow into Friday and actually finish the week, remember the old adage around here? You finish the week above a previous week's intra-week high, and how bullish that is. Remember that? Okay. So if the S&P were to come down and close below that low from back in the middle of August, okay, close down here around, if we lose 100 points in the S&P or 80 points in the S&P over the next 2 days and finish the week down here like at 43.20, then it's going to really start to look pretty bearish for stonks. Instead of the usual daily podcast on Thursday the 21st, we had one of our Thursday conversations, bringing in a new guest, a guy by the name of Sam Lowry, who's an Australian, and he has just started a new company with our old friend John Adams. They call it Adams Bullion. Now, Sam has vast experience in the financial sector, working with derivatives, trading, algorithmic trading, and the precious metals. So it was a fascinating conversation. You can find it by going to the TF Metals Report homepage, scrolling down, clicking on the link, Thursday Conversation with Sam Lowry, and give it a listen. It's about 25 minutes, totally free whether you're a member or not, and I think you'll find it interesting. Check it out right on the TF Metals Report homepage. And on Friday, September 22nd, we are wrapping up what was a pretty volatile week with some pretty nice gains. Given the way the bond market is sold off with rates at some of the highest levels in at least 16 years, and given that the dollar index is posting a weekly gain for the 10th week in a row, you might be surprised to know that silver was actually up 2% this week, about 46 cents on the week, big green candle on the weekly chart. And like I said, that's a pretty nice gain given everything that was going on this week. Now take a look at the daily chart. You may recall this chart from the last couple of weeks of these podcast highlight shows. Price has come down almost once a month for the last couple of months into this area between about 22.60 and 23. And from each time, it then rallied in a short squeeze that took up to the price trend line that goes back to May the 4th. You can see this from the middle of July or middle of June into middle of July. You can see this from the middle of August into late August. And now is it happening again? Sure looks like it. Those are some awful nice green candles here this week. So we'll see what happens as we go into next week. There will be some more data next week that we'll need to pay attention to, most notably the latest PCE numbers next Friday. And then October jobs report on October the 7th. But for now, we'll worry about next week and whether silver will rally from here and move back up to this trend line again. Please join us at TF Metals Report. Get analysis like this every single day, analysis you can use in your stacking of physical metal. TFMetalsReport.com is where you want to go to check us out. For now, though, it's time to wrap up the week. Thanks again for listening to the TF Metals Report podcast highlight show. We'll have another one of these for you next week.